Hi, this is Lee Forsyth. I'm at the Headwaters Science Center in Bemidji, Minnesota, and I'm glad to read you a couple of books today. Before I read to you today, I want to remind you we're open 7 days a week. That's Monday through Saturday, 9:30 to 5. We're open on Sundays from 1 to 5. That means we're open 7 days a week. You don't have to go to the calendar or our website to find out which days we're open. We're open every single day. And again, those times are 9:30 to 5 on Monday through Saturday, but it's right after lunch, or 1 o'clock till 5 on Sundays. I read from all kinds of locations here at the Headwaters Science Center. Ryan, who's on the other side of the camera, and I have been everywhere in the Science Center, including the basement, and even a couple of months ago, we were out on the sidewalk reading to not only the people walking past, but we're reading the Junkosaurus that day. Most often, I read to Orion, the bunny rabbit. Today, I'm going to read from the very edge of the second floor of the Science Center, where we have a simple machine, an invention called the Windmill. I'm going to turn it on for a bit, let it play for you. Well, it's not going to play. I'm going to let it work for you. And let's see if the windmill will start moving. I should move my head a little. There it goes. This wonderful man, he comes by here still every once in a while, built this windmill within our facility, this replica of one. And here we are. I'm going to turn it off just so you can hear the story. Today, Inventions and Inventors. This book is well worth reading. I'll get it back to the library, then you can check it out. It's well worth reading. There's lots of good things in here. There's some things I don't like very well in here as well. You get to read the book and find those things. I like a book when it does a really good job at captivating all of society. This book leaves out some people that I think they could have included. But it does include some interesting ways to lay out the book. So they call it a timeline of inventions because it starts way over here at 1 million BC and proceeds on this page until we get right over here to the wheel where it says the invention was 3,500 BC. The Mesopotamians invented the wheel. There were countless inventions that came after it. So now that we're to 3,500 BC, time to turn the page. This one starts where that one left off at 2,500 BC, where it talks about the Egyptians and the inventors of glass or mirrors. Going all the way along the timeline, we get to name out a couple more. Yes, there's one right over here, but this is the one that really intrigued me because this is a windmill. Let's take a close look at that windmill. It's significantly different than the one I'm sitting in front of. All right, so this windmill was invented by China and Persia, and they built this windmill so that they could use the power from the wind. Similarly, how this one would be used if it was a real one, that it would draw water out of the ground. To the next page, the paper trail. That's how it starts. It moves all the way along in a timeline, gets over here to one where he's talking about an eyeglass or a spyglass, a telescope, and microscope. The inventor, this is the one that intrigued me. This is Johann Gutenberg of Germany, who invented the printing press. And he did it so that he could change the print and print out, well, eventually that would become the daily newspaper, as well as books. It lists off all of that. Heating things up is the next page for this book about inventions and inventors. And I'm going to pause at this one. This is the American David Bushnell built the Turtle, which is an early submarine. And way back when, because I do these every single Wednesday, I read you a book about the inventor of the submarine. Actually, the whole thing happened in Chicago, and that's that invention. Off we go to the next page, where it says building steam, and it starts at 1804 and goes all the way around to 1824, where a Frenchman, Louis Braille, developed Braille. That was a system for people to read the dots on a page. That would be people with some sight issues, blindness, as a way of reading. Lots of other ones. And when you get a chance, you're going to go to the library, get this book about inventions, and it lays it all out in a timetable. How about saving time? So in 1830, that's where this page starts. Goes all the way over to 1859. We're moving to where we are in today, 2022. But I'd like to point out the American mechanic Elisha Otis, who invented the elevator. We come to this page, Sights and Sounds. Moves along, 1864, moving up to 1877. And here is accredited for this invention, Thomas Alva Edison, who invents the phonograph. Things seen and unseen. Starts at 1884, moves all the way up to 1895, where this inventor, who thinks it's awfully funny, is inventing the X-ray. Oh, there was one other one that was interesting. The German engineer, his name was Carl Benz, builds the first useful gasoline-powered car. Interesting enough, it was a car that had 3 wheels. Could that have been Mercedes-Benz? And where that name came from?
Yeah, he is Mercedes.
Yeah. It originally had 3 wheels. In the sky, on the road. So now we're starting out there at 1903. And we're going to go all the way over to 1922, where we're the inventor of the refrigerator. What happened in 1903? That would be when the 2 brothers, Wilbur and Orville, fly the first airplane at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina on December 17th. And the age of flight begins. Lots of other things going on there, but I'm going to go to the next page. 1923, we race ahead to 1930, where Ruth Graves Wakefield, an American innkeeper, bakes the first chocolate chip cookie.
I'm surprised at how recent that is.
You know, I'm a little surprised too, and maybe they're really pointing out it's the first one to bake cookies on a large scale, ones that could be sold in a grocery store.
I wonder if it's when the chocolate chip got it. Like how long before that is.
You know what? I might not get this back to you to the library right away because Ryan might want it for a few days. He's going to see what actually happened that resulted in the invention. Boy, in 1939, we have the invention of the helicopter.
So, fun thing on the chocolate chip. The chocolate chips were invented specifically for those cookies, and the inn that Ruth Graves Wakefield ran was the Toll House Inn.
Wow, Toll House. There you go. For all of us who buy cookies from the store. In living color. 1940 races all the way ahead to 1950 with the invention of the credit card. Not sure that was a great invention. That's my personal opinion there. Not sure I like that particular one. And some other ones. The invention of the diaper.
Disposable diaper.
Disposable diaper. 1946. Getting technical. So in 1965, the American chemist Stephanie Kwolek invented Kevlar. That was the strongest material that you could use to make bulletproof vests. At least it was in 1965. The camera, invented in 1975. That would be the camera. The American engineer Steve Sasson invents the digital camera. All right, we're to 1979, moving ahead at rocket speed to 2007. But I wanted to do this one. A group of 10 companies got together. They created a light, durable disc that they ended up calling the DVD. You know, inventions move along so fast sometimes that that's lost in society because I don't know of anybody using a DVD. I don't use a DVD when I get in my car. I don't use one. I don't use DVDs for my TV at home.
So I remember being shocked at how recent of an invention VHS tapes are. Like, learning that they weren't a thing until the early 80s.
Yeah.
It's very surprising to me to remember.
Yep. In 1995, the invention of the DVD. Now, when you go to a library and you go to the nonfiction side of the library, one of the most wonderful thing about nonfiction is you get to the end and you can go ahead and do a glossary of terms, other books that maybe now you want to read because something came up, and then there's an index at the back of a nonfiction book. Typically, if you're reading fiction, you're not going to find those things. Well, this one was right next to it. Wile E. Coyote. Wile E. Coyote in Simple Machines. So if you're a lover of watching what used to be Saturday morning cartoons, you would have seen this one. And all the inventions that he uses to make life simpler, as there is often in science, in nonfiction books. There's the table of contents. I'm not going to read all of these either. But catching the Roadrunner is hard work. There are rocks to move, anvils to lift, and holes to dig. But no matter how hard Wile E. Coyote works, he never manages to catch that crafty bird. Wile wouldn't have to work so hard if he learned the correct use of simple machines. The 6 types of simple machines are levers, wheels and axles, pulleys, inclined planes, wedges, and screws. Those are the categories of simple machines. Now we're going to go through the book, seeing how he does them. How about levers and fulcrums? Levers and fulcrums, he's digging a hole. What could he use to move the rock out of the way? What could he use? He's going to use a lever and fulcrum. So with the lever, Wile E. Coyote lifts a big load like the big rock with much less effort. But he needs to place the fulcrum in just the correct spot. If it's too close to him, the lever moves only a short distance. When he pushes it, it barely affects the rock. Now he's going to leap on it, and there's the mistake. That often happens for all of you that go, oh yeah, I know about this cartoon. How about input and output forces? Wile E. Coyote learned that flying rocks can be hard on the head. Now he's going to launch a boulder at the Roadrunner. But how can he throw it accurately? His RCME catapult should do the job well.
Probably ACME.
Oh, thanks. All right.
He uses all Acme products.
Yeah, he does use Acme products, and I'm going to tell you, one of the inventions that I have is called bifocals, and every once in a while the whole word is gone. So yeah, that's Acme. Thanks. Chapter 2, inclined to fall. So this is talking about an inclined plane, and he's going to try to pull this log up, get it up here on the top of the cliff so he can push it back off, and of course flatten the Roadrunner. That's the whole idea. And so he can't lift it. So instead, he does a whole bunch of calculating. How could I get that up here? And he creates an inclined plane. That would have all been wonderful if it had all worked out the way it was supposed to. Of course, it would have been better if he had built his ramp strong enough to support the log's weight. So that's an inclined plane. So instead, he decides, when I got to this page, I thought about our exhibit downstairs, the one that we have an entire wall that magnets can connect to. And I thought about all of the chutes and things we have down in that area. Well, that's kind of like an inclined plane too. So he built one. He gives himself a chance on, what we call this, a scooter. And off he goes trying to catch the Roadrunner. He didn't exactly calculate it out perfectly. Too much speed causes him to have too much distance on his jump. You overshot your target. Well, how about the wedge? The wedge is a simple machine because it makes things simpler. An axe is a simple example of a wedge. So that makes it easier to cut the rope so that the boulder can fall on the Roadrunner when it's running by. He's going to cut the rope. The problem is it didn't fall. There was some cacti in the way. So what does he do? He uses his wedge to chop away. In which case, he's now got his own problems. So how about rotational motion, such as in the wheel and axle? If you remember, that came up in this book, our other one. The wheel, the invention of the wheel. It's great for pushing things up a hill. He gets it all the way up there, in fact, and all of that should have worked wonderful. Good way to move an awful lot of weight. But he should have checked out to see if the ledge was strong enough to hold him. So here comes another headache. Rotational motion, the motion of an object rotating around a fixed point, thus the wheel and axle. So how about rotational versus straight line motion? Of course, the wheeled vehicle needs to be kept under control. So now he's going to put them together. There's the wheels. There's the catapult from earlier. He's going to roll it so he's got it in the right place. And about the time he was ready to spring it, down the hill it goes. And now we got a problem. You can see the umbrella. Yep. I don't think the umbrella is going to help him. And now we get to the pulley. Pull me, pulley. To pull off his latest plan while he needs to get to the top of the platform. But how can he get himself to the top of the platform? He can use a pulley. You look carefully at this particular picture. He's pulling himself up using the pulley. So he ends up being eye to eye with the Roadrunner. That would have worked great. Except he lets go of the rope. We have a live audience today. We do this every day at 3:30. I just want you to know. And so today it happened to be about Wile E. Coyote and Simple Machines. And this one didn't work out either. What if what he was going to pull up was really heavy, such as, how about an anvil? What about that? Well, that would be 2 pulleys. And so he's going to try 2 pulleys, and that was all working great, except he didn't do the hand over hand action that you might have used to pull on the pulley. He instead backs up, and he backs up right past the edge of the cliff, and down he goes.
Important element of our windmill too, the pulley.
Tell me more.
If you see behind where the blades are there, it's a bunch of pulleys inside of it, and that's what makes the actual the chain and weight go up and down that does the actual pumping. It's basically a system of pulleys.
I'm going to tell you what Ryan and I actually often do. I read a story on Wednesday. He does a live show on Friday, and he picks one aspect of the book and goes, let's talk about that. We now have a pulley. It's right over there. Should we do this? Let's activate it again. I suppose you can't zoom all the way to there. Again, we have time on Friday, but here we go.
So you can see where the bike chain is in there. That's a whole system of pulleys that's working in there, and there's a few of them. Just like Wiley's using on the page we're looking at here. More pulleys. You can see some on our bubble wall too.
And then how about the kinetic sculpture?
Oh, yeah.
Spiraling out of control. This is the invention of the screw, or the inclined plane that's going around in a circle. So how about that? Wiley hasn't had much luck so far, but he would still love to crush the Roadrunner underneath a big rock. His latest plan is to use a jack to do some heavy lifting for him. Jacks are a complex machine, but the main part of the jack is a simple machine called a screw. A screw is an inclined plane that is wrapped around a cylinder, and its spiral edges are very loose, very useful, especially if the task is really difficult. Nice job inventing everything except didn't turn out.
And the lever he's using to raise the jack is probably a lever, so that's why it's a complex machine. It's
Yes.
more than one simple machine.
Yeah, and here he comes with, how about if we use 2 things at once and come up with a complex machine, more than one kind. And he's converting it now to a rotational motion. When I saw this one, I thought immediately of what we're doing here in northern Minnesota about this time of year. You're listening to this 3:30 show from somewhere other than Minnesota. You might not believe the fact that we walk out onto the lake and we use one of these to screw down, drill right through the surface of the lake so that we can catch fish. That's what I thought. Simple machines to the rescue. While he hasn't had much success in getting Roadrunner, but simple machines have played an important part in his schemes. From moving boulders to drilling holes, simple machines have helped Wiley do a lot of work. I hope you enjoyed the story. There's all of the machines all put together. That's what he was doing today. Again, there's a glossary of terms. Why don't you read more? There's some books about it. This one includes some internet sites. You don't see that in every book, and an index. All right, I'm going to try to get these books back to you as soon as I can, once Ryan has maybe looked at them a little bit more for Friday's show. All right, we do this every single Wednesday, 3:30. It's a book. We do other shows frequently, so that's why I confidently said maybe you want to tune in on Friday and Ryan will do a show for you, which maybe will be about simple machines. All right.